It's a quiet time I'd like to spend with you. Your eyes golden brown and your smile so true. And if by chance we should fall in love, I'd like to say to you, it was this quiet time that I spent with you. You cry one of these mornings, you're gonna rise up singing, and you will spread your wings and take to the sky. Sweet lady, but until that morning, there ain't nothing's gonna harm you. My funny Valentine, sweet comic Valentine, you make me smile with my heart. Your looks, you can say that you're leading me on, but it's just what I want you to do, yeah. Don't you notice how hopelessly I am lost? That is why I am my love with you. I'm on my own, but I wander through this wonderland. Days grew longer, and so soon I would hear it. Ooh, that winter song, but you know I miss you most of all. My darling, when those autumn leaves starts to fall.
I'd like to thank all y'all that fight for us tonight. Before, my name is annamariaflechero, and it's my pleasure to perform for you tonight.
The host and producer of the 14th Hour. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is my introductory part of the podcast, and I want to explain to you exactly why I'm doing this. So just bear with me, because this is new for me, and during my research, it's new for a lot of people wanting to combine the audio and visual technology. So it has definitely been labor of love, but here I am moving on with this podcast. Basically, the podcast is the 14th Hour, and it is a part of my personal musical journey. So I have to give definition to what the 14th hour means to me, and it basically means what I'm doing in my life right now. I am in the 14th hour of my life, and I do have other CDs that I have. One is Journey into the 14th Hour, which consists of all of my original songs, which will be introduced to you during this podcast series. The other one is Within the 14th Hour, which consisted of jazz standard songs, my personal interpretation of jazz standard songs. And the 14th hour is, or was going to be, my third CD, because I wanted to do a trilogy of my musical aspirations in my lifetime. So the 14th hour initially started out as the third CD that I wanted to produce. However, due to health constraints, due to the pandemic, due to many other factors in my life, I found that that was not a possible thing for me to do. So, right now, the 14th hour means to reimagine who I am, and what I want to be. So, being a personal journey, my musical personal journey, I have decided to create a podcast, not just to tell my personal stories, but to also ask other content creators or other creative artists to be a part of the podcast. Therefore, there will be other creative artists presented into the 14th hour, and they will talk about what their journey has been in their life, what they're doing with their creative art or with their aspirations, whatever that might be. So in my mind, I have created not only for myself, but for others to be a part of remaining vocal, remaining visible. So my introduction to my original music, I'm pretty excited about, because I want to tell a story about, what I was doing, how I was feeling, who I thought I was, who I wanted to become when I wrote these songs. And the journey into the 14th hour is, a collective musical story, of my life. So I will present to you my original music and also tell stories about that. I will present to you Within the 14th hour, which basically were jazz standards, but they also have a story. There's a story to be told about, what I was doing, who I was working with, how I felt about music. So, in a nutshell, pretty much that's what will be presented here. I refer to myself as a senior on steroids, SOS. I am the first bona fide senior on steroids. Well, that's how I felt a few months ago. I don't know quite as much if I'm on steroids right now. But in any event, the podcast will feature other people that I have asked to be a part of the podcast who are considered or may consider themselves a senior, who are, still very active in their creative art. And so I refer to them as seniors on steroids. Many people may have an issue with this word steroids, but as my friend said, it's not an injection of some type of drug. What steroids mean is that they have the adrenaline in them to continue being relevant in their life. So that is basically the definition of the 14th hour. But within that segment, not just seniors on steroids, that will consist of both men and women who are creative artists and who are content contributors. But I came up with another SOS, and that would be singers, SINGERS, singers on steroids. Now, these are people who are still singing, and they've been singing for many, many years in their life. And they have become famous. They may not be famous. They may still be on the stage singing. They may not be able to sing, but we'll be able to hear their ordinary stories about a singer on a journey, chasing their dreams and their dreams becoming a reality. For me, that's a very interesting story that I would like to hear, from people. I stayed on the stage for as long as I possibly could, and I plan to return to the stage. Not necessarily as strong as I was before, And what I mean by strong means that actively out there forming. But the way our society is now, due to the pandemic, due to the uncertainty of everything, it's not like it was back in the day. In a sense, nowadays is that we have to remain active somehow. So the choice for me to pursue a virtual platform via the podcast, I will be performing, live streaming. And in doing this, it's taken me a while, over a year or so, to really formulate in my brain what I plan to do. But what I do know, this is what I do know, is that I am going to remain, true to myself. So my idea of remaining relevant is to approach it virtually. And what I mean by that is that the podcast will consist of live streaming. I will perform here in my amfmstudio, which is annamariaflechero's music studio, AM/FM. You get it? It's the radio thing. Okay, enough of that. But AM/FM studio, I will, I can perform here for you and share some of my new music, share some of my old music, share with you. Just other people may come over and jam with me, and we'll just have a good time with that. I'm looking forward, to being actively involved in my creative self, so to speak. So in saying that, it's very difficult for me to talk for prolonged periods of time. And plus that, they say that I'm supposed to write out a script. Well, the script was not working for me. Every time I tried to get on this camera, and I'm telling you, this is really a process, and read from a script. Well, hell, I can barely remember the lyrics when I was on stage singing a song. And just like, Ella Fitzgerald, when she forgot lyrics, then she would bust out into a scat. Well, being virtually and talking, to people, you just can't bust out into a scat because people wouldn't understand me. But in any event, I do want to share with you, on this podcast, a couple of things, so that hopefully that it will interest you in being a part of my podcast and becoming a patron or becoming a follower, becoming a fan, so that I can continue to bring this forward to people, my fans and my soon-to-be fans, and just to remain, viable, in with my creative art. I would like to end this introductory episode of who I am, Annamaria Flechero, your host and producer of the 14th Hour podcast, with a couple of video snippets of when I first became a stand-up vocalist. It was at a place called Club Jazz Nouveau in San Francisco, and I'll never forget it. It was like, I don't know, it's like I was in a whole different dimension because I'd never been a stand-up vocalist. But I had to because, I had written these songs and I had produced a CD and they were all originals. And, where was I going to get gigs and stuff to play? I mean, I was pretty much self-promoting everything at that time. And I didn't think that I needed to, be a performer like I became, particularly a stand-up vocalist. And then, have the title of a jazz vocalist, which I never thought of myself as being a jazz vocalist. But in any event, this was my very first stand-up front vocalist at Club Jazz. And then I'm going to end this podcast with a song I wrote in 2018. It's called Stand Up for Peace. And a couple of videographers put together a little video that I will also share with you. And there'll be bits and pieces of, of this. So I sincerely welcome you to the 14th hour. And my name, again, is Annamariaflechero. And I am the producer and host. Brought to you by amfm Studios. Okay, I'll be back. Don't go away.
Seems to get better. Oh no, that stormy weather every day. Got to find a better way. Got to find the answer. As I walk through this world, head held towards that sky, and despite my broken wings, I will remain in flight, flying high through that night. Oh yeah. 'Cause I believe in myself, oh yes I do. I believe I can search it on through. I believe in myself, yes I do. I believe that my river will flow. Ooh, yes. This I know, this I know. There have been times that I felt my heart, my soul, my body melt. Yet despite all that pain, my belief in myself remained. Oh Lord, I believe in myself, yes I do. I believe that my river will flow. Stormy weather took a refuge in me. Found myself living in misery. My soul and my body kept drifting apart. Well, I lost all that love in my heart. Lost all that feeling of love in my heart. Lost all that feeling of love. Lord knows I struggle and stumble to keep what I must. I believe that my river will flow. So you feeling low? Nothing seems to get better. Oh no, that stormy weather is every day, y'all. I've got to find myself a better way. Got to find that answer. Came to me as I drown
So here comes the original song, Stand Up for Peace. Won an award with the Academy for 2019.
Welcome back to the 2019 Academy of Music Awards and the presentation of the Executive Awards.
Out of all of the incredible artists we auditioned this year, it was very difficult to narrow it down to just one Artist of the Year in each genre. And we congratulate all Academy Award winners on their extraordinary achievement. We've now come to the much-awaited presentation of the Academy Executive Awards. Now, whereas the Artist of the Year award is based upon a single piece of musical work submitted in 2018, the Academy Executive Award takes a broader view of the artist's songwriting ability, musicianship, repertoire, and unique musical style. This highest honor speaks volumes about the artist's creative and professional foundation and is a clear prognostication on the part of our team that this artist is destined to accomplish great things in the field of music.
With that said, we are proud to present the 2019 Academy Executive Award to R&B soul artist annamariaflechero.
All they don't care about my living or dying. What you gonna do? Seems like everybody is fussing and fighting. Whole world keep bitching about it. Each day of sorrow. Is there any hope for our tomorrow? Yeah, it's true. I ain't got no sense. CENTS. It is true that I have all of the sense. SENSE. Nonsense, you might say, well, 10 cents bought me a piece of time. 10 cents main line to the sky. Sun started to burn my mind. Stand up for peace and be a part of this conversation. Stand up for world peace and be a part of this conversation. Stand up for peace and be a part of this conversation. Stand up for world peace and be a part of this conversation. We can live in peace and harmony, yes. Talking about solidarity, holding hands and making plans together. Come on and stand up for peace and be a part of this conversation. Oh, they don't care about my living or dying. What you gonna do about it? Seems like everybody's fussing and fighting. Whole world keep bitching about it. Each day of sorrow. But is there any hope for our tomorrow? Stand up for peace. What you gonna do about it? Stand up for world peace and be a part of this conversation. Stand up for world peace. What you gonna do about it? Stand up for world peace. Be a part of this conversation. But all they don't care about you. You're living or dying. Stand up. Seem like everybody is fussing and fighting. Whole world keep bitching about it. Each day of sorrow. But is there any hope for our tomorrow? Stand up for peace. Stand up and be counted. Stand up for world peace. Stand up and be counted. Stand up for peace. Stand up and be counted.
So there we have it. My first ever time being a stand-up vocalist at Club Jazz Nouveau. It's my original tune, I believe. It was a very magical time for me. And also, Stand Up for Peace was written, actually the song was written a long time ago, but I revived it. Stand up for peace and be a part of this conversation. I wrote that song in 2018. There's a story behind the song in terms of how I wrote it and how difficult that process was for me. But, again, it was done and I produced it. All the music that you hear on this podcast are my originals, or they are jazz standards that I have performed or that's on my CD. So if you are interested in becoming a member, which I really hope that you do, please go to the Patreon website. I will put some information at the end of the podcast. And also, just, if you can't do that, view it on YouTube. Follow me. That's one of the big things, is to follow me. Again, so that I can continue to bring this platform, to you. There is a cost associated with anything that we do nowadays. But I do this just out of the love of music and the love of creative arts. But I do need to pay the light bills. So if you consider becoming a member, please go to the Patreon page. Take a look at what the setup is there. And the membership is $10 a month. And I plan to do semi-monthly podcast. However, as I get better with this, which I know I will probably, post every week, depending on the workload. But y'all have to remember, I am a bona fide SOSer, a senior on steroids. And quite frankly, even though it's been a difficult process, I've had fun doing this. I've had fun trying to just convince myself that this is something that is good for us. There I go again, not writing with a script. But in any event, I will see you next month. And once again, thank you for tuning in to the 14th Hour podcast. My name is annamariaflechero, and I am your host and producer. Take care. Oh, I thought I'd just add a little humor. This is a senior on steroids, a sister on steroids, and a senior on steroids. I hope to see you soon. Stay tuned. For all of me.